All right, so this, of course, is the exchange between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. But things, of course, got a little heated up a little while back listening to this interaction. Unprecedented. This is what was being discussed behind closed doors. But this is diplomacy that is now playing out in the glare of the world media's cameras. Listening to this heated exchange between Trump and Zelensky.
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America. And for the good of the world, I'm aligned with the world. And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, you know, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Hey, I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014
2014.
and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him. A lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed with him with gas contract, yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influenced.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
a
entire
lot of
meeting?
times.
No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October.
All right, so those are some unprecedented scenes that played out at the White House, where Donald Trump effectively said that Volodymyr Zelensky is playing cards. He's gambling with the lives of millions of people, and he's gambling with World War III. To help make sense of what in fact played out at the White House at this moment, we're joined on this broadcast by Mr. Ron Alito, who is a former U.S. military officer and also a former CIA contractor and a former intelligence and operations officer at the Pentagon. He's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. Alito, what we witnessed in the White House just a few minutes back, this is unprecedented. Donald Trump did not mince his words. He said that Volodymyr Zelensky is gambling with the lives of millions of people. He's gambling with World War III. But Volodymyr Zelensky there, sticking to his ground and not budging, and still insisting that this is a war that he wants the Americans to back. What's your assessment of what played out there?
Well, I believe that this is historic. This is without precedent, obviously. And what we are seeing is basically the confrontation of two different war views. One is what we can call the globalist neocon war view, and the other one is the paleoconservative America First war view, completely different ones. And for the last 3 years, since the war began, Zelensky only have been here one world view, the globalist neocon world view of the Biden administration and all of the European Union, with the exception, the sole exception of Hungary, of Viktor Orban from Hungary. And right now, he has to face the new reality. The new reality is that now the United States have a paleoconservative worldview, completely different of the narrative of the neocon globalists. In the neocon globalist worldview, the world is white and black. There are no complications. Everything is very simple. Ukraine is good, Russia is bad. And now Trump is telling you that is not the reality on the ground. The world is complicated, a lot more complicated than that.
You know, but Donald Trump is also calling Volodymyr Zelensky as ungrateful and unthankful for the help that Ukraine under Volodymyr Zelensky has got from the American nation, saying that without the help of the American weapons, Ukraine would not have been able to stand up to the Russian onslaught for possibly a matter of 2 weeks. Now, considering what played out a little while back, where Donald Trump has said, sign the minerals deal, sign a compromise, otherwise we are out. Looking at what played out, are we to now say that is the deal now out of the question?
I believe that perhaps Zelensky will have to calm down a little bit and will have to sign the deal, because he knows without that deal signed, most likely there is not going to be any support at all from the United States. The main issue here, and this is the desperation of Zelensky, Zelensky was about to sign a peace deal with Russia in Turkey in March of 2022. He was this close. There was already a draft of a peace process just 1 month after the war began. But then Biden used his influence, and Boris Johnson flew to Kiev to prevent him from signing that deal of March 2022 in Turkey, because they told him, we're going to support you forever. We're going to give you hundreds of billions of dollars. We're going to give you intelligence, satellites, everything. You are going to win. And now Trump is changing that promise that Biden did, and now Zelensky is desperate because he doesn't want a deal. He doesn't want a compromise. He wants the billions of dollars, the weapons, the satellites, the intelligence that Biden and Boris Johnson promised him in March of 2022.
You know, the reality is fairly straightforward. Donald Trump said that Ukraine simply hasn't got any cards to play, for which Volodymyr Zelensky shot back, saying that he had not come to play cards, for which Donald Trump, of course, said that he is gambling with the lives of millions of people. He's gambling with World War III. Without American weapons, do you think at this moment Volodymyr Zelensky can fight this war?
No, absolutely no. I mean, the United States is not only providing hundreds of billions of dollars in weapons and all kind of assistance and economic assistance, but also it's providing intelligence, real-life intelligence, satellite intelligence, interception, SIGINT, humans, everything the United States has. Otherwise, Ukraine will not be able to survive without the intelligence and the money and the weapons and the technology that the United States is providing. It might go for a few months, only with the United Kingdom and France and some other European countries, but eventually it will crash. And actually, gambling with World War II is very on point for Trump. You know, this was from the beginning a big gamble from the Biden administration.
Mr. Alito, it's interesting that you mentioned that meeting that happened in March 2022 when Volodymyr Zelensky was fairly willing to, in fact, do a deal and try and bring some kind of a compromise into the picture. But he was backed by the Americans and the Europeans. Do you think the backing that Volodymyr Zelensky feels that he has from the European nations, such as from what Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have been saying, that they are willing to deploy their soldiers in a buffer zone in the eventuality of a ceasefire, is the backing of Europe what Volodymyr Zelensky at this moment is relying on, and how reliable do you think is the European backing to help Ukraine out here?
Well, basically what happened is that both Europe, Boris Johnson and other European countries, and Biden, they promised Zelensky help to the end, forever, until Russia is defeated. And now Zelensky is seeing that Trump, with a new administration, a new paleoconservative approach, he departs from that promise. So now Zelensky is desperate because, hey, you promised me something, but he doesn't realize that it's a different sheriff on town, a different president. Now Macron and Starmer, they're still trying to implement that promise they did to him, Boris Johnson and Macron, in March of 2022. And they might implement some of that help, but without the United States, they will not be able. Now, the peacekeeping troops, that's a trick. And that's basically some kind of strategy to trick the country into a world war. Because basically what they want to do, they want to send troops to the west part of Ukraine. And obviously, already Putin said that he will destroy those troops. He will kill hundreds or thousands of those troops with long-range missiles, with artillery, with whatever he has on the new missiles he has, hypersonic missiles. And then they're going to use those casualties to try to bring the United States into Article 5, into NATO, into the war. Because you see, we are part of NATO. Putin just killed 5,000 of our soldiers. Now you have the duty to come. But Trump doesn't want to go there. He knows that it's a trap. He knows that those soldiers are basically a bait to bring him and the whole of NATO into the war. All
right. Indeed. Mr. Alito, thank you very much indeed for joining us and getting us that perspective there. Unprecedented scenes is what have played out at the White House, where Donald Trump, the sitting American president, who said that he's a deal maker, along with the Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, they sat side by side. And what we witnessed is in many ways unprecedented in world diplomacy. The kind of conversations that you expect would be had behind closed doors.